Something is breaking inside the luxury world, and nobody is talking about it. The same brands that raised prices every single year, the ones that swore they would never discount, are now quietly slashing tags behind closed doors. Private sales, VIP-only offers, markdowns that never hit the website but somehow always reach the right inbox. And here is the truth they do not want you to know. Shoppers have stopped playing along. According to Bain & Company, luxury has lost nearly 70 million customers in just 2 years. This is not a slowdown. This is a full-price rebellion. Today, we are breaking down 8 luxury brands that buyers flat out refuse to pay retail for anymore. And by the time we reach number 1, you will understand why the old rules of luxury no longer apply. Number 8, Burberry. There was a time when the Burberry check meant something. It was quiet British prestige, heritage, a trench coat your grandfather might have worn through London winters, passed down through generations because it meant you had taste without trying too hard. For decades, Burberry sat comfortably in the upper tier of luxury, a name that whispered class without screaming for attention. But lately, something has shifted. Burberry's retail revenue plunged 22% in the first quarter of 2025. The brand dropped out of the FTSE 100 index for the first time in 15 years. And in November 2024, the company announced it would apply selective discounts to clear warehouses full of unsold products. Comparable store sales fell across every major region, with Asia-Pacific and the Americas hit hardest. What happened? Burberry fell into a trap of its own making. Outlet stores and discounts now make up over 17% of its sales. That is not a luxury strategy. That is survival mode, dressed up in plaid. Add to that an identity crisis. The brand brought in new creative direction, shifted toward blue tones, stepped away from the iconic check pattern, and confused consumers who no longer knew what Burberry stood for. The company itself admitted to inconsistent brand execution and moving too far from its core. The result is a customer base that no longer feels urgency. Why pay full price when another markdown is always around the corner? Analysts at Barclays even raised concerns that Burberry's growing reliance on promotions could permanently erode its prestige. When full price feels optional, the brand stops being luxury and starts being a backup plan. Burberry may have invented the trench coat, but it also trained its customers to wait. And once that habit takes hold, it is almost impossible to break. But while Burberry stumbled into discounting by accident, the next brand on our list built its entire empire on it. And now that strategy is coming back to haunt them. Number 7, Michael Kors. If you walked through any major mall in the early 2010s, you could not escape Michael Kors. The gleaming, gold MK logo was everywhere, on tote bags, on watches, on wrists from Manhattan to Miami. It was accessible glamour, luxury you could actually afford. For a while, that formula worked brilliantly. Michael Kors became a $4 billion brand. Celebrities carried the bags. The jet-set aesthetic felt aspirational yet attainable. It was the sweet spot every accessible luxury brand dreams of hitting. But then, the cracks started showing. Revenue dropped from $3.88 billion in 2023 to $3.52 billion in 2024. The brand's parent company, Capri Holdings, reported a 16% sales decline. And the proposed merger with Tapestry that could have saved them? A federal judge blocked it in late 2024. The lifeline vanished, and Michael Kors was left to fix itself alone. The core problem is not quality. Michael Kors bags are well made. The problem is perception. The brand opened hundreds of stores, flooded outlet malls, and trained an entire generation of shoppers to never pay full price. Walk into any Michael Kors outlet today, and you will find bags discounted up to 70% off retail. The company even opened 3 new outlet locations recently while closing mainline stores. That is not a pivot. That is a surrender. That math does not work for luxury. When your outlet business outpaces your flagship stores, you have stopped being aspirational and started being expected. The MK logo that once signaled arrival now signals bargain hunting. And once customers associate your brand with a deal, they stop seeing it as a prize. Michael Kors did not fail because it made bad products. It failed because it made luxury too easy. And in doing so, it erased the one thing luxury depends on, the feeling that you earned something rare. But if Michael Kors taught customers to hunt for deals, the next brand on this list is fighting a battle that runs even deeper. A reputation it cannot seem to shake no matter how hard it tries. Number 6, Coach. Coach has pulled off something few brands manage. It reinvented itself. The bags are better than ever. The designs feel fresh, modern, even cool again. Collaborations have landed. Gen Z is paying attention. In fiscal 2025, Coach led its parent company Tapestry to record revenue, with brand sales up 11%. The brand added over 1 million new customers in North America alone, and roughly 2/3 of them were Gen Z or millennials. By every creative measure, Coach is winning. But there is a ghost following this brand everywhere it goes. The outlet. For years, Coach flooded discount channels with logo-heavy bags at slashed prices. You could find Coach at every outlet mall, every department store clearance rack, every end-of-season blowout. That accessibility built volume but destroyed mystique. The brand became synonymous with markdowns, and that association does not wash off easily. Today, even as the mainline brand elevates its image, the outlet business looms large. Coach Outlet runs constant promotions, sometimes offering an extra 25% off already reduced items. Black Friday deals reach up to 70% off. Seasonal sales are not events. They are expectations. The outlet even has its own dedicated website, running parallel to the mainline brand and reinforcing the discount narrative. The result is a consumer base that has been conditioned to wait. Why buy at full price in September when you know October will bring a markdown? Why pay retail when you can get the same logo for half? That hesitation is baked into how customers think about Coach now. It does not matter that the new Tabby bag is beautiful. What matters is that somewhere in the back of the buyer's mind, a voice whispers, maybe it will go on sale. Coach is doing everything right creatively. But undoing decades of discount conditioning takes more than good design. It takes time, patience, and customers willing to forget what they learned. That trust is hard to rebuild once it is broken. But while Coach battles the perception of past discounting, the next name on our list is fighting something more subtle. A quiet erosion happening behind boutique doors that most shoppers never even see. Number 5, Prada Nylon Line. Prada's nylon bags were never supposed to be everywhere. When Miuccia Prada introduced them in the late 1970s, they were a quiet rebellion against the heavy leather status symbols dominating luxury. Lightweight, understated, intellectual. The nylon Tessuto line became a cult favorite precisely because it felt like a secret handshake among people who understood fashion differently. Owning one meant you valued design intelligence over obvious opulence. It was anti-status status. But secrets do not stay secrets forever. As Prada expanded, the nylon line expanded with it. Production scaled, availability grew. What was once rare became routine. Today, you can find Prada nylon bags on resale platforms marked down 20 to 50%. The real lists, hundreds of them, many sitting for months without buyers. Even the re-edition 2000, a revival meant to capture nostalgia, shows up discounted across third-party retailers. The bag that was supposed to reignite desire is gathering digital dust. And then there are the loyalty offers. Industry sources report that select Prada boutiques have begun moving nylon inventory through private client promotions and behind-the-scenes incentives, not public sales, not advertised markdowns. Just quiet nudges to VIP shoppers, suggesting that maybe now is a good time to buy. These are the kinds of tactics brands use when demand softens, but pride prevents public discounting. This is the danger zone for any luxury brand. When your signature product starts needing help to move, the exclusivity that built it begins to fade. The nylon bag that once said, "I understand fashion," now risks saying, "I got a deal." That shift in perception is subtle, but it is devastating. Prada still commands respect. Its leather goods and runway pieces retain their prestige. But the nylon line that once defined understated luxury is losing its edge, one silent promotion at a time. And if Prada is quietly discounting its signature nylon, wait until you hear what is happening at one of fashion's most prestigious leather houses. The price hikes pushed customers away. Now the markdowns are pulling them back, but not at full price. Number 4. Saint Laurent leather goods. Saint Laurent built its modern reputation on confidence. The Sac de Jour, the Loulou, the Kate. These were not trend pieces. They were investments. Bags you bought once and carried for years, knowing the value would hold. That promise of permanence justified the price tags, which climbed steadily year after year. Saint Laurent leather goods represented the intersection of Parisian elegance and modern edge. Women trusted the brand to deliver timeless pieces that would never feel dated. But confidence has limits. Saint Laurent has raised prices twice annually for years, with increases ranging from 5 to 16%. The toy Loulou that once cost $15.90 jumped to $18.50. The Sac de Jour crossed into four-figure territory across most sizes. Each hike was defended as a reflection of materials and craftsmanship. But eventually, customers stopped believing. The bags did not change. Only the receipts did. Kering's financial reports tell the story. Saint Laurent revenue dropped 8% in the fourth quarter of 2024 and 12% for the full year. First quarter, 2025, brought another 9% decline. The price increases that were supposed to signal value instead signaled something else. Maybe this is not worth it anymore. Customers who once bought without hesitation started walking away. And here is where it gets interesting. Shoppers have noticed something new. Department stores and multi-brand retailers have begun offering quiet discounts on older Saint Laurent stock. Not official sales, not advertised events. Just private client offers and under-the-table markdowns to move inventory that is not moving on its own. TikTok is full of videos documenting Saint Laurent outlet finds and unexpected price drops. The brand that built its reputation on holding the line is quietly bending it. When a brand known for never discounting starts appearing on sale racks, the message is clear. The price hikes went too far. Customers pushed back with the only power they have, their wallets. And now, Saint Laurent is learning that prestige cannot survive on rising prices alone. It needs buyers willing to pay them. Saint Laurent proves that even the strongest brands can push too hard. But the next name on our list pushed in a different direction, chasing trends until the trends moved on and left them holding the bag. Literally. Number 3. Gucci seasonal pieces. Gucci's fall from grace is not news anymore. It is arithmetic. Revenue dropped 23% in 2024. First quarter 2025 brought another 25% decline. The brand that once defined maximalist cool is now scrambling to figure out what it even is. Parent company Kering has watched its stock tumble 50% over the past year, with Gucci dragging down the entire portfolio. This is not a rough patch. This is free fall. But here is what gets less attention. The seasonal pieces, the loud prints, the trendy silhouettes. The items designed to capture a moment and dominate Instagram feeds. These were Gucci's bread and butter during the Alessandro Michele era. Hype machines built to sell out and generate waitlists. Every collection brought new logos, new patterns, new reasons to buy immediately before it disappeared. Now they sit. Industry sources report that major retailers are quietly marking down Gucci seasonal inventory for VIP clients. Private sale invitations, early access discounts. The bags and accessories that were supposed to fly off shelves are lingering, and stores are doing whatever it takes to move them without making headlines. Some pieces are showing up on consignment sites at 40 to 50% below retail. The problem is structural. Gucci trained its customers to chase trends, but trends expire. And when the Double G logo stopped feeling fresh, there was nothing underneath to keep people coming back. The brand's wholesale revenue collapsed 53% in the fourth quarter of 2024 alone. That is not a slowdown. That is a reckoning. Meanwhile, Kering has cycled through creative directors, executive leadership, and strategic pivots. Nothing has stuck. The seasonal pieces that once printed money now represent a liability, sitting in warehouses and on consignment sites at fractions of their original prices. Gucci's crisis is not about one bad collection. It is about what happens when a brand builds its identity on hype and then watches that hype evaporate. The loyal customers moved on. The trendy buyers found new obsessions. And the seasonal pieces are left behind, waiting for a markdown that will finally make them move. Gucci's reliance on hype left it exposed when the buzz faded. But the next brand on our list did not lose its customers to changing trends. It lost them to something far more damaging: scandal. And the discounts that followed tell a story no press release could hide. Number 2, Balenciaga. Before 2022, Balenciaga was untouchable. The Triple S sneaker redefined what luxury footwear could look like. The Hourglass bag commanded wait lists. Under creative director Demna, the brand turned provocation into profit, pushing boundaries while racking up billions for parent company Kering. Balenciaga sat at the top of the list index as the hottest brand in fashion. It was not just successful, it was cultural currency. Wearing Balenciaga meant you understood where fashion was going before everyone else caught on. Then came November 2022. 2 ad campaigns featuring children, alongside disturbing imagery, ignited a firestorm that spread far beyond fashion circles. Celebrities distanced themselves. TikTok users filmed themselves destroying their Balenciaga pieces. The brand went from number 1 on List's Hottest Brands Index to falling off the radar almost overnight. Kim Kardashian, one of the brand's most visible ambassadors, publicly announced she was reevaluating her relationship with the label. The financial damage was immediate. Kering acknowledged in filings that Balenciaga had a challenging fourth quarter due to controversy, particularly in the United States. The brand dropped from the top spot to 18th place in industry rankings within a single quarter. Stores that were once packed went quiet. Sales associates reported that they are still recovering from the fallout years later. And the discounts followed. In China, Balenciaga averaged 40% off on Tmall during much of 2024, according to industry sources. The Hourglass bag that once commanded full price appeared at 35% off on major platforms. Department stores have been offloading footwear and ready-to-wear at deep cuts, often through private client channels that keep the markdowns out of public view. The Adidas collaboration that launched right before the scandal? Still sitting in outlets, struggling to sell even at reduced prices. Consumers still associate it with the controversy, and no discount can erase that memory. Sales associates say the Adidas pieces are among the hardest items to move, even at steep markdowns. Balenciaga is trying to rebuild. New campaigns, new collections. A strategic pivot back to fashion fundamentals. But brand trust is not something you can buy back with a runway show. Once customers associate your logo with something unforgivable, every purchase becomes a statement. And for many, that statement is still too uncomfortable to make at any price. Balenciaga's scandal proved that no amount of hype can protect a brand from its own mistakes. But our number 1 spot goes to a brand that did not need a single headline grabbing controversy to collapse. Its decline was slower, quieter, and in some ways even more devastating. This is the brand that luxury insiders are watching most closely, because if it can fall this far, so can anyone. Number 1, Dolce & Gabbana. Dolce & Gabbana was never subtle. The Sicilian glamour, the ornate embroidery, the unapologetic celebration of excess. For decades, that boldness worked. The brand dressed celebrities, dominated red carpets, and built a following that loved fashion loud enough to hear. Domenico Dolce and Stefano Gabbana created an aesthetic so distinctive it became a language of its own. The corsets, the leopard prints, the religious iconography. It was maximalism before maximalism had a name. But bold does not pay the bills when nobody is buying. The company's fashion and home division saw sales drop 8% in fiscal 2025. The U.S. market, once a stronghold, declined 13%. China, still recovering from a 2018 scandal involving racist advertising, remains largely closed to the brand. Operating losses widened to over 80 million euros in the most recent fiscal year. The core business is bleeding while the founders scramble for solutions. The numbers tell one story, the shop floors tell another. Retail partners have increasingly turned to unadvertised discounts to move Dolce & Gabbana inventory. Private client promotions, quiet markdowns on seasonal collections. The pieces that once flew off shelves now require incentives to find buyers. Multi-brand retailers report that Dolce & Gabbana sits longer than comparable luxury labels, requiring deeper cuts to clear. This is not a temporary dip. This is a pattern. The brand's fashion segment has contracted while only beauty, which Dolce & Gabbana brought in-house in 2022, shows growth. That pivot signals something important. Even the founders seem to recognize that the core business is struggling. They are betting on fragrance and cosmetics to carry a fashion empire that fashion alone can no longer support. What makes Dolce & Gabbana's decline so striking is how complete it is. There was no single disaster, no viral scandal in recent years. Just a slow erosion of demand, a customer base that aged out, and a younger generation that never connected with the aesthetic in the first place. The bold Sicilian glamour that once felt exciting now feels dated to many shoppers. When a heritage brand reaches the point where full price feels like a fantasy, something fundamental has broken. Dolce & Gabbana is not just discounting to clear stock, it is discounting to survive. And in luxury, survival mode is the last stop before irrelevance.